Hello, friends. Welcome back to another edition of the Above Board podcast. Now, today we have Brandon Hatcher joining us again. He joined us. Brandon, when was the last time you were on here? A couple months ago?
It was.
Yeah, it was a great podcast. And I think why I'm excited about today's conversation is this was spurred from a live event that Brandon did last month on a retire ready checklist. And as we were talking, we were kind of thinking like, yeah, okay, there's a lot of things that you need to know when it comes to your finances to be able to retire successfully and be ready to retire. And so that's a good one. And we can drop the link to the show notes for that one later. But today's conversation is kind of a spin on that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I think, it's when we talk about being ready for retirement, I think back to an episode that we did, like one of our first like 5 episodes of our entire podcast was called The Power of Positive Aging. And so, just thinking about like the things that, everyone's so focused on the financial goals of where we need to go. And then we lose sight of like, well, what's life gonna actually feel like when we hit these milestones? So, Brandon, what do you think? What do you think? Should we just dive right into it?
I think we should.
Where do we
Absolutely.
begin?
Well, okay. I think the best place to begin, which, by the way, when I went to the archives to find the power of positive aging, which really wasn't that hard because YouTube is a really good filter, but it was back in episode 7. So think about that, man. Like, what has changed since 2020? 2020, I think it was like July of 20 or June of 2020 when you recorded that. And, you know, a
Well, the
lot of
name of
things,
the podcast changed twice.
right? I think it's called Three to Win or something
Yeah,
at
the
one point.
music
Yeah.
changed. The music changed.
Oh, it was the same in what I watched. Maybe it was just
Oh,
redone,
okay.
but yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome though. And it really sparked kind of this thought that I have been sitting that I have been thinking about for a
Hmm.
long time, which is how do we help people enjoy their retirement beyond the finances? And it's so
Hmm.
important. And Rich B brought this up. I think he asked a question about like statistically, when people retire, some of them age rapidly. And we've all seen it either anecdotally or we have cases of things that where people just, you know, for 9 months, or I'm sure I should say, like after 90 days or so, they start to get bored. They get a job, like they call us up and say, "Hey, I got a job at Lowe's or Home Depot or something." And we joke about, like, hey, after you've gone on 2 vacations and built a planter box, what's next? Like, what does a random Tuesday at 10:30 look like for you? And these are questions that I love asking clients because I think we're in a unique position to have that conversation with them.
Yeah. I would say, well, obviously I agree. And I've seen it too where it's actually almost a bit of an identity crisis. Like you spend your life's work, your all this time and your identity and your personality might be, the meaning you might derive from the work that you do, right? Like it's a big
Hmm.
part of who we are. And then you just turn that off and hey, this ain't your grandparents retirement anymore. Like it's not like, we collect the pension. We worked at one company our whole lives. We collect the pension, we sit on the lazy boy and we watch Sports Center and hang out. And we're all living much longer. And I think people are either retiring earlier, or just like life expectancy is so different now,
It is.
which is an amazing thing that you can have all of these meaningful years to enjoy retirement. But I see it as an identity crisis for a lot of folks. I mean, I quite literally, I can think of a number of good case studies where it's like, it's not what we thought it was going to be, John. It's just not, the joy's not there. All the things we thought we were going to, derive out of retirement, it's not the same, or not
Right.
what we expected.
Yeah. Yeah. And just on that point too, like my dad is 76 and he is in so much better shape than I remember my grandpa being in at like 60. Like I'm just like the quality of life of people, they're living longer, but they're
Hmm.
living healthier longer. And I love that. We got a lot of clients who are still traveling in their 80s. Like getting on a plane and going to Europe, and I love that for them. So I think it's so important to have that. And just thinking about like working hard and getting and building a career and your identity wrapped up in it, you also get really, really, really good at your career. Like, and
Yeah.
it's probably because you were goals, you trained, you got better, and you were focused on moving in a direction. And I don't think any of that should change when we look at what we want our financially free chapter of our life to be. And,
Yeah.
that's, I think that's where this idea comes from.
I don't know, man. I'm nervous. I'm kind of nervous about the thought of retirement. I mean, I'm only 38, right? So it's like there's still plenty of years ahead. But I kind of going back to the example I shared of some of the clients I can think of, like I watched them go through it, go through this like identity crisis, and I totally connect to it. I'm like, that feels like me. Like I don't know if I could not stop what I do, but like just I love the wheel of progress. Like I love
Mhm.
getting better. I love growth. I love learning. And so I suppose you just have to channel that effort. But, I love working with the clients we serve. It just seems like to me, it seems so, I mean, it's so far away, of course, at 38, but it just seems hard to conceptualize. And the beauty of it is like we get to vicariously retire through our clients because we watch them do it. But even
Mhm.
still with that, it seems hard. But what about you?
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. In fact, I feel like almost an imposter because I think, okay, I'm helping clients with this. But if we were to fast forward our life, so we're both 38, so actually this works great. But let's fast forward our lives and let's say we're 68, okay? And retirement should be on the horizon. If you were to say, Brandon, or I'm going to say this to you because this is more fun, right? A friend of mine needs help, not
Yeah.
me, right? John, if you and Jackie were to retire at 38 years old
Hmm.
and you had to think, what would it be like now that you are financially free? What would your ideal retirement look like? Would you be able to answer that?
I mean, you want me to try? Is that a rhetorical question, or should I answer that?
Well, here's what
I
I'll
think
say.
I know the answer.
I think so too, right? So my answer would be no, I don't. However, I like to play this game. I like to play a game when things are, you want to make something, but you're not quite sure where to begin. I like to play the game called What's It Not? So the what's it not game is when you're thinking about something you want, an ideal. First, maybe picture what qualities is it not, and that will actually help to shape what it is you do want. So
Okay.
just thinking
So we
about
already
this
said it ain't your grandparents' retirement, so we know it's
nope,
not that.
it's not that.
We're not sitting
So,
on a couch watching TV.
mm-mm. Nope,
Okay.
I do not care to know what new TV show. I mean, some people still watch Wheel of Fortune, but that's not my not mine. It's and specifically like from a time point of view, from a financial point of view, from who you're hanging out with. I think that is where we can start to guide this conversation. It's like, hey, number one, it's not your grandparents' retirement. So what that means for me at least is we are up, we are moving, we are healthy. We are waking up at a certain time every
Mm-hmm.
day so that we can move toward something and have that
Mm-hmm.
purpose. So, what
I
about
know
for
that
you?
I'm gonna need, like, I feel like I would definitely need to schedule because I mean, right now, especially with young kids, it's like every day there's such a routine schedule. And I think we're all creatures of habit. I think we thrive better in that environment. I know I do. And so, yeah, if I've just got an open, like blank space of time, I'm gonna struggle with that. And it's actually, you know what? You know what? I'm sorry to like interject, but I wanted to add, like, I have clients that joke with me all the time and they're like, John, I'm busier now in retirement than I was when I worked. And that's a sign of maybe doing it right, that, because they're saying it positively, like social events, social calendar, visiting family and grandkids. I think that's a cool thing to hear. So okay, so having a routine.
Very important, right? A
Yeah.
routine got you here. Like, okay, we like sports, right? Like we're both like the total sports
Hit me
analogies.
with an analogy.
You always hear, do what got you to the dance,
Yeah.
right? Like when playoffs, I mean, and this is relevant, March Madness and everything. Probably come out after we know who's in this Final Four and everything. But you always hear coaches say, "Do what got you to the dance." So from a time point of view, if you know that you are a scheduled routine kind of person where you like to get up same time every day, just do it. Even if that time is like 9:30, 10 o'clock, right? Like for me, it's probably not that late. I would rather get up early and then take a nap at some point throughout the day, let
Right.
my brain reset. But I don't want to be sleeping in every day. Like that's just, I want to wake up with the sun or before
Yeah.
the sun,
Yeah.
take my dog on a walk or something, that's important to me.
They say naps are good for you. I can't seem to bring myself to do it. I keep
I
trying, but it's just not there.
okay, quick aside. I know people who don't drink coffee or any caffeine, which to me is just wild because I'm addicted to caffeine. Yeah,
I'm
a latte.
holding mine up right now.
Yeah, I'm a few cups in and I had a latte already. The machine at home was probably the best, worst gift I've ever gotten. And and she said like, hey, like how do you like recharge your battery? She's like, oh, I just go sit and close my eyes. I don't fall asleep and I just sit there for like 10 to 15 minutes and do nothing. Like you just like sit in a chair and close your eyes. She's like, yep, and it resets me. So I've
Hmm.
actually done that a few times and it does
Yeah.
help. So even if you're not a napper, maybe I don't know what it's called, like a soft reset, reboot your
Maybe
brain.
by the time I retire, I will figure out how to do this.
You
Yeah,
know
I
what?
don't. Yeah, go ahead.
The dim like so my favorite term, and John, I say this all the time. I call it the
Hmm.
dimmer switch, right? To
Hmm.
retirement, where you go like turning on a light bulb. You slowly bring it up, like slow boil, your ideas that you have. So yeah, yeah. Maybe you can start it when you're 50, start to take a little siesta.
Yeah, I feel like well, I you know what? I want to keep going down your path of what isn't retirement because I feel like
Yeah,
this is even helping my own mindset when I think about I don't know. Like I said at the beginning of this, it's hard for me to sort of mentally shift to in the moment of like in the time of life I am now with young kids and running a business and clients and all that stuff. It's hard to shift that, but I think it's important. So when we talk about like being retire ready, this applies whether you're at our age and you're 20 plus years away from retirement or more, or you're like 5 years away from like you need to start
hmm,
thinking about this stuff because we're so focused on the monetary goals of like being financially ready to retire
yeah.
and we completely abandon all of what this conversation is. Okay, so with that in mind, keep talking to me about what it's not.
So for you or for the person listening, so this is for the people listening, ask yourself the question from a time point of view, what is it that I don't want when I have unlimited time?
Mhm.
How do I want my time to be organized? How do I value my time now that I have less of a calendar?
Mm,
So ask yourself, is it nothing scheduled? Is it
mhm,
something scheduled? Is it the same thing scheduled throughout the week? Only you can answer that question.
mhm,
And as an example, for me, and what we have seen is that it's not just fly by the seam of your pants. It is routine. It is schedule. It is loose scheduled, but it's the same type of organization that you enjoy doing. And it should be. You should prioritize having a reason to get up every day, brush your
right.
teeth, take a shower, put on clean clothes, and move. Get outside. I think that's important. That's what I would say from a time point of view.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and I think I think about my own life. Like I want to be busy, but I don't want to be full of busy work. Like I don't want to overload my calendar. So there's a balance there. Like I want a routine and a schedule, but maybe not the one I have now, where it's like I'm
Right.
like running from one meeting to the next. I'm 5 minutes, overtime on here. I gotta buy time back there. I gotta make a bunch of calls back. That level of busy is, I mean, it's good stress, I guess. Like, it comes with a level of stress, and I think it's productive. But I definitely know that about myself, that I need some kind of routine and structure, like you're saying. I have a question. Have you ever seen clients? Because I've seen a few do this, which I think is kind of cool. Let's say inside of like that 5-year window to retirement, they'll take a sabbatical, like a hiatus, like
Mhm.
just a little bit of time off to sort of trial out what that feels like. I mean, maybe it's a month even, but like just to feel
Right.
like, what does life look like? Not. I think that's kind of a not that doesn't give enough. That doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. Like,
Yeah.
think about the dimmer switch to retirement or whatever, like just like getting a feel, like sort of getting a feel for what it looks like before you just go flip the switch and now you're not in it anymore.
Right. It's a headspace. I know when I go on vacation, it almost takes me a few days to get into that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that is a phenomenal idea. When we hear about a client taking a trip that they were planning to do when they retire, but financially they're ready, we say take it. If you can take 6 weeks off and, do the trip and maybe just do projects around your house and, soft retire,
Yeah.
it is extremely good. Another piece that I think is big into that, transition piece, and this kind of relates with two things, is the other one is family. So, John, you talked a lot about this with young kids. Well,
Mhm.
imagine that your kids are now 30 years older. Maybe they have kids of their own. What does your routine look like with family?
Oh, I'm
Right?
bugging the crap out of them. I'm following them wherever they go.
Me too, right? I want to be the
That's
annoying dad. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Well, those who have grandkids, what I have found to be highly successful is they take their grandkids at the same time every week. So it's routine, right? Like it is like, hey, on Thursdays, I have the kids. I take them off the bus, watch them. They are basically my kids for that time period. And I have seen that two reasons. One, it is a great way to build a relationship with your grandkids. Number two, the children really appreciate it because now they have one less thing that they have to try to figure out. And the third thing is it's good for you mentally because now you have a set time every single week that you can do that. Now, if you're still working and maybe you can't do that, maybe you can, though, be the one who's in charge of them for their baseball game or
Mm.
something like that. You're in charge of taking them. And I know they're not your kids and you've done your part, but it's so meaningful in terms of that dimmer switch to retirement. Because once you do have more time, maybe you'll take them. Maybe you'll
Yeah.
take them if you live in a different state. Why don't you invite your grandkids to your house for a week, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that
Yeah.
happens every week.
Yeah.
Take a vacation and have.
It's my dream to, if I get the opportunity to be a grandparent. I hope I'm a grandfather someday. It's my
Yeah,
dream to coach like their t-ball team or their like little league team, because I get to do it now and it's so fun with my kids. And I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, hey, if you have kids someday, like, where I'm going to coach with you, like I can't wait to do it. So, and again, vicariously retiring with other clients and getting to see them do it, I get to see them become grandparents, and it's pretty special. Which I guess, like the family community aspect of it's a real big deal. I would say it's so interesting how life changes. Like pre-kids, my community looked way different than it does today.
yeah,
Obviously, within our work environment, we have a great team here, and we all work well together, and that's my part of my community. But now, as my kids are getting older, their school community that they're at, and getting to be with all these families that have shared ideals and principles and values, like that's really cool. And I think the same thing is for retirement, especially if you move. Like, what a big deal, to retire and move to a new town. Or even if you don't move to a new town, you move to the next town over, but like it's a new neighborhood, it's new people, like your community changes. And so when you're talking about like family and grandkids and stuff, it just made me think community is a really important aspect to retirement. We saw that, the isolation that happened in COVID. I
oh
mean, we
yeah,
watched that happen, and we watched people. I mean, that's one of the things we kind of like talked about in the power of positive aging, is like how quickly
Ah,
people deteriorate in retirement, and maybe like why does it happen to some and not others. And there's all kinds of factors that attribute to it, but certainly like isolation and not having a community when you're in
Yeah.
retirement. That's a big
Well,
deal.
well, let's play the what's it not game.
Right.
So when you retire, what is when you think about community? So that's a topic. So association, very important. Who do you not associate with when you retire, right? I think we know
Mhm.
at least some of the people we won't. Community. What don't you want your presence in the community to look like? Right?
Yeah.
So important topic. I'd say for me, like zero presence is what absolutely what I don't want. Like I want to be involved in the community.
Sure.
Doesn't have to be overly involved. I don't want to be mayor, but I do want to be known. I want to be known as one of the guys you can count on.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I would say, I don't know. I don't know what it'll look like. I know it will evolve. Like I'm watching it evolve now as my kids are getting older. It's different than when they were in preschool, and that was like we had this community of friends and we still have like it just changes, right? Like, and maybe
Hmm.
as maybe when I'm in that place of life, it'll be my church or some fellowship or a group of people that I get to know. Certainly, my hope is, you know, being with my grandkids wherever they are and being inside of that community. So that matters. I definitely agree with you. Like, I don't want to be mayor either. Like, I don't want to be so
Mayor
involved.
Kennedy, though, that's come on. Like you have a perfect name for that. Vote
That's
for Kennedy.
true. That's true. I think my aversion to wanting to be in politics has a lot to do with my name. Because for so many years, people were like, "Come on, you got the name for it. You got to do it." And I'm like, I don't want to at all. But yeah, I think, I think it will evolve, and that's the part that I'm not sure exactly what it'll look like. But it's fun to talk about it. And again,
Yes.
I think that is the premise of today's podcast. Is like whether you're 28 or 38 or 58, like you got to be thinking about this stuff, because what is normal for us is people come into meetings and they're just talking to us about the finances. That is so normal. And again, I will say, I mean, Brandon, you did an excellent job on that live event that we did. It was a virtual one, but you did an excellent job at it. And so we can share the link for the folks that
Yeah.
are watching this today, because that part is obviously, without that part this conversation doesn't even matter.
Right. What is it not? It's not a lack of money,
Yeah.
right? We need
Yeah,
to get
like
there.
it starts with financial independence, so we recognize that, and that is a very important part of the conversation. But once we get through that stuff, I mean, I joke all the time, we are in many ways like a financial therapist
Hmm.
for families, and clients will joke with me, we'll be in a meeting, and maybe a husband and wife will have a little spat, like a disagreement about like what it's going to look like or whatever, and then they'll look at me at one point and be like, hey John, you didn't know you were signing up to be our therapist today. And I'm like, well, I kind of do
Actually,
know that I am signed up to be that, because if we're going to talk about these very intimate life decisions that you're making and financial decisions that you're making, like it makes a lot of sense that for a holistic financial planning team that we're going to end up talking about this stuff too, or certainly should be. We should be. We're doing you a disservice if we're not talking. So speaking of what it's not, like, we're doing a disservice if we're not talking about that, those things. I don't know, man. For me, I'm feeling kind of motivated. Like maybe I should take a maybe I should take a sabbatical and see what it feels like, so I can kind of answer some of these questions better. I will tell you, I won't do that, but I will tell you, anytime I take a good vacation, like a
yeah.
good like 2 week, like by the end of the vacation, once I've finally figured out after those first few days what to do with myself, because I just don't know how to like not check emails and like be plugged in. Once I
Right.
figure that part out, I towards the end of the vacation, I'm like, oh, I could do this forever. This is great. And then like, you know, get Sunday scaries. Monday comes
Yeah.
around,
The
and then by
countdown.
like, yeah, but by like noon on Monday, I'm like, oh, I'm locked in. I could, like, it takes me a couple hours to reacclimate, and I'm like, oh, I could never not do this,
Right.
for work. So anyway, I would say that's a good feeling to have, that you come back from a good vacation and then you're like locked in and you're excited for the work that you do. So maybe when you take that sabbatical and you come back, then it's your answer. Like you're 5 years away from retirement and you come back and you're like, I don't want to do this still. Maybe then you're ready for retirement. Maybe not
Maybe.
financially, but emotionally.
You brought up something so important. So This is probably the first time I'm actually talking about it too, and I did not think about it. But what is it not? Maybe it's not having this attached to your hip all the time,
Mm.
right? Like maybe it's not being continuously living on your phone. I will say I am seeing some family spend a lot of time on social media, like a lot. Like I don't know what they're doing. So I know for me, it is not holding a phone all the time. It's gonna have to be involved, right? It's gonna have to be in real life, as my kids like this IRL, in real life, which is so funny that we have an acronym for just life,
Yeah.
right? Like it's so
Right.
funny, but that is something that we need to think about is like I think your default programming, if it's doom scrolling, I mean, think of the hours you can waste just doing that. So what is it not? It's not wasting time, using your
Mm.
time.
Gosh, yeah. That kind of makes me think of Rich and I talked about this on the last podcast, but I'm hopeful for a time where we kind of like revert back to the 90s, meaning
Yes.
in the sense of like, AI is such a big thing now, and you go online, you can't even know what's real when you're looking
No
at it.
idea.
Like none of it's real. And that maybe everybody will just kind of revolt against technology in that way and just sort of stop doing the social media thing and the doom scrolling thing, and that we'll go outside again and we'll play again and we'll I don't know. I agree with you there. I agree with you there. I don't want to be so connected that I'm addicted to it.
Right.
And I think that that's something that I certainly run the risk of. Like, I have had moments. This is not where the podcast is meant to go, but we're here, so we're doing
We're
it.
here. Let's
I've
have
had
fun.
moments where, like, on days like today where I work from home, I'm like so locked in that I almost like it's hard to physically break myself away from my desk. I'm like,
Right.
one more
Same.
thing, one more thing, one more email, one more thing, one more. Oh, by the way, hey Brandon, blah blah blah. One more like
Right.
that. It's so like I have to consciously think, what are you doing? You're done. Everything is done. Your checklist is done. Stop it.
Yeah.
Um,
Get up and go
and
walk.
go
Right.
that. So that's yeah. Megan always is good at telling me that. She'll like message me and be like, "You need to take a lap. You gotta go take a lap. Like you're just too plugged into the matrix. Like you need to unplug and go take a lap." And you're right. Like I don't want to feel that way
Mhm.
in retirement. I don't want to feel that way.
Absolutely. You brought up a good point. I think about when I was going through mine, like I went during COVID, so I think we all went through some challenges. And one thing that was
Yeah.
offered at the company I was at the time was mindfulness training. It was a huge deal with mindfulness, and I didn't know what that was. But one exercise that when I had a mindfulness coach for that time period, she gave me the suggestion of this concept of putting things on a shelf. So when
Mm,
you, like what Megan just said to you, what you're doing is we're taking these ideas. I did this when I was single. I said, what are all the things I want? And I put it in a physical list and I put it in my sock drawer. But mentally, you could take these ideas and you could put them on your shelf. Like, hey,
mhm,
you got to the point where you can't go any further. You're starting to get diminishing returns for this, if for people who are trying to figure out what they want life to be, and it can be for this or anything, take these ideas, put them in a box, put it on the shelf, take it off the shelf sometimes and revisit it and see what it's turned into. So by you
mhm,
getting up and walking, and by me getting up and walking, because we're very similar in that regard, we take a second to put our things on a shelf and just reset. Maybe that friend of mine who doesn't drink caffeine was onto something where you just, hey, disconnect for a little bit, like get off any screen, get off any noise, just go and
mhm,
like dark room, meditate 10, 15 minutes. Your brain has a chance to go, okay, close some tabs. Let's go back to work. And you feel so much better and hype and like ready to go. So I love that. I think that's great. And we all fall victim to it. We all look at, oh my gosh, I've been looking at this for 4 hours and I haven't gotten up. That's not good
yeah.
for us.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I'm just like visualizing like 30 years from now, you're in your backyard, you have like a Zen garden and you're just
Oh,
doing meditation, just like a
but-
totally different, like you've gone off the grid, Brandon. You're out there
yeah.
meditating. You've got like light music playing. I could totally see this. I
Okay.
feel like I could do it too.
Mr. Miyagi's
Yeah,
like backyard garden was like my legit dream backyard. So you're
retirement
not too
goals.
far off. Yeah, you're not too far off. I do have a
Retirement
Japanese
goals.
maple. I have two of them.
See?
Yeah,
The
I'm
things
gonna.
the things that we get to learn about Brandon. We're gonna do a
Yeah,
podcast about the unique things that make Brandon Hatcher Brandon Hatcher. Because we could
deal.
definitely dedicate a podcast to that. What else do we want to talk about on
Well,
this
okay.
topic?
So I will just rapid fire. Think about it from a learning point of view. In retirement, do you want to stop learning? And financially free. Are you financially free? Do you want to stop learning? Or do you want to continuously learn? And what extent? Do you want to get a degree? I don't know. To me, no. But I wouldn't mind learning some skills. Like that would be kind of fun. Like let me learn about something that I've always been curious about.
Yeah.
Right? One of those on the shelf ideas.
Yeah.
What about you?
Maybe do 75 hard in retirement, just year round,
Yeah.
just every day, 2 workouts a day.
Oh yeah. Hey, what about like a 3-day fast? Like reset your
Right.
body, right?
By the next podcast, I will have tried it. I went a full day. I went 24 hours, or a little bit more than 24 hours, and it felt
We have
good.
Good Friday coming up, John.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you're right. You know, on the topic of what you were just saying a moment ago, though, I do think, like right now, as I'm where I'm at in life, I would say, like, yeah, I want to continue to grow and evolve and have progress and learn. Like I hope that I'm that way in retirement. I really do. And
Oh
so,
yeah, you will be.
depending on, who you are listening to this and how close you are to it, let's say you're a few years away, certainly you have more life insight, life lived than maybe Brandon and I do.
Mhm.
But, I hope it's that way for you too, that you want to continue to evolve. And like I here locally in Orlando, UCF has a good, it's called like, I think like the Life, UCF Life or Life
Yeah.
Foundation or something like that. And we have a number of clients that are like very involved in that. And it's an acronym. I don't know what it stands for, life, but it is specifically for retirees that want to go back and get education on like different topics of things. And I just think something like that is so cool because it's, you just don't stop learning, you don't stop
Right.
growing. And yeah, yeah. And again, from our vantage point, it's fun to see people do that right. But we've also seen people not do it right,
Right.
and it's, it's subjective. Who's to say it's not right? But when I say not right, I mean maybe what they thought it would be versus what it ended up being. Because they worked themselves so hard until retirement, and then they get there and they're just like, oh, this sucks, now I'm bored.
And
That's definitely not like
boredom.
fulfillment. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of what we're talking about, Brandon, is like meaning and fulfillment. Like the same way that you can apply it when you have, in this stage of life with work and, our vocation and our community and our kids and all that stuff, like maintaining that in retirement. That I feel like that to me is the power of positive aging. Like that is how you have meaning and how you have longevity in a retirement that's going to last 30 years now. It's not, what was it back in the 40s and 50s and 60s? Like I remember when Social
Well,
Security came out, it was supposed to last for like,
55
yeah,
was like a retirement date back in the day because people only lived till like 70, you know?
right, right. I thought Social Security was even supposed to be less than that. Like I think initially when Social Security funds started paying out, it was like life expectancies were like a couple years, like a few
They were.
years.
They were
By the time they
100%.
got
Yeah.
their benefit to for as long as they received, maybe like 2 or 3 years, and now it's 20 or 30.
It
I mean,
is.
it's amazing, and it's like hopefully if you're healthy and you're doing the things for your health and all that stuff, it's like 20 to 30 meaningful years where you're
Hmm.
able to derive joy and fulfillment. So I think that's a lot of what we're talking about. Can I actually shift gears real quick on you? So not to make, because this podcast is about what it's not, what we should be focusing on, positive aging, all that stuff. But give us a little bit of a taste of like some just a little financial ready stuff, like a little taste, because I think that part. I think for the folks that join this, seeing that I don't know what the title is going to be yet, but I kind of like it ain't your grandparents' retirement. We'll
Ain't your
figure it out.
grandparents' retirement.
But like for the folks maybe thinking like, oh, I was going to get some financial stuff out of this. What I mean, you did that. You did that live event last month. What would you say to that?
Well, was sticking with the theme. I
Okay.
would say it's not a one size fits all way of getting there. What do I mean by that? We all have life that we're going to build. So we need to start with a idea of what is important to you. So that's what we're doing. We're saying what is important. All the things that are important that we're putting on this list have a monetary value to them.
Mm,
If you're traveling a lot, that might be 20 to $40,000 a year. If you really want a boat, if you really want a garden, if you want a nice house, if you want to be able to move, these all have monetary value. So it's very important that we know that going in. We need to know what your cash flow needs to look like. And then once we know what your cash flow is and what it needs to look like, and major hint, it's very similar to where you are today. People typically, when they retire, either want to stay the same or slightly upgrade. I don't see people who rice and beans it once they retire. Never seen it happen. I've only seen people who want more, like, or same, if not a little bit better.
hmm
So it's very important that we start with monetarily wise, what are we aiming for from a dollar amount? Income. Can you fund your life? Then it's about building the vehicles that do that. Now, in our world, so I'm going to start with what you have. You focus on a job, income, benefits,
mm,
401k, maybe you have a pension, things like that. Maybe you have an opportunity to be a rental owner or have multiple streams of income, or maybe you're a musician, you have royalties or something, right? So that's going to be income driven. Where we come in is we help people have multiple types of investment accounts with different types of tax incentives. So, some accounts are taxable as you trade them. Some accounts you get taxed later in life, but you get a tax benefit today. That's your IRA. And then the Roth. We love Roths because they're never taxed again. Mix them
yeah.
together, try to keep your taxes low so you have more. That is the
Mhm.
flavor of then saying, can I fund my life forever with those accounts, with the income I created? So that's my little hint of too long didn't listen to the last podcast, but go listen to it because I mean, I'm a little biased. I think it was good.
Yeah, I think the most common question that we certainly get is, okay, Brandon, John, how much do I need to retire successfully? And they're looking for a number. They want
Right.
they want us to say, "Oh, yeah, you need $3.5 million. You need that." But
Hmm.
the reality is there's so much more to that. And really when I get that question, I I come back with a question, which is, well, what do you want retirement life to look like? And so that kind of like it's starting with a lot of what we have just spent the last half an hour talking about is like, what is meaning in retirement? What's that going to look like for you? Because if you say, well, I've got two kids, they have grandkids, and I want to have a turnkey condo in California where my one set of kids live, and then I want a place here
Right.
in Florida, and I want a place by the beach, you know, okay, well, that's a very different retirement than others want. And so
Right.
a lot of it is what is going to derive meaning, joy, and value to you in retirement, because then we can kind of back into, okay, well, what's a budget going to look like? And as you said, it's usually at best, status quo from what it is prior to retirement, if not, a bump up in lifestyle and luxury, let's say. That's maybe not the right word, but you get where I'm going with it. And
Quality. Yeah,
so
sure.
now we can figure out, well, what is discretionary income like? What does the number look like that they need per year? Now we can back into what a portfolio value needs to be, or what a net worth needs to look like.
Right.
So it is pretty interesting, actually, because we do end up having those questions. And so it's fun because the engineer type clients are like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Don't talk to me about feelings. Here's the number I need. And it's like, all right, I respect that. But, also like life is going to change and things are, so it's important to talk about these things, I think. All fun stuff, man.
It
It's a good,
is. And I
yeah.
would just say 2 points before the audience leaves. Your health is so important, right? You're living longer on average, but that means that you have to take more ownership. Dimmer switch to retirement. Be healthy now. It's much easier to
Mm,
just stay healthy your whole life than have a great routine so that when you're starting to retire, again, we're talking about dimmer switches and what it's not. Is your retirement unhealthy? I've never heard someone say yes. So, like, control what you can control, get your body right, have a routine, eat good habits, have good eating habits, have good exercise habits.
Yeah.
That's so important. You want to be able to keep up with those grandkids. John, you and I want to be able to coach with our
Oh,
grandkids, so we need good knees,
yeah. Amen to
right?
that. Amen to that. I think,
And,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What was
no,
the other
no,
point?
what were you gonna say?
No, no, no. Sorry. Did you have
And
another
I
point?
would, the other huge point is, are you retiring with somebody?
Hmm.
What what is that going to look like? Are they already retired? You're going to be spending 8 more hours with this person. Are they ready for you? Right?
Yeah.
Like, go try it. Like, that's so important. Retiring with people, being on the same page. The engineer person usually marries someone who does just has a different personality set, and they work really well together.
Yeah.
So, we I think a routine together, a fitness routine together. We both maybe go to the Y, but we do different workouts. That's fine, right? That's fun.
Yeah. I like what you said, go try it. I think that's going to be the action item out of this is go take a sabbatical. Like go take a
Yeah.
month off. See,
You
a
get
few
that
years
RV.
before.
Get right, right. Everyone wants an RV. I'm like, well, have you ever driven an RV? Can you go rent one for a month and go try that if you want to go RV 6 months out of the year? Like, please
Yeah.
go try it.
That
I
does
want you to
seem to
try it.
be a big retirement vision for folks is
Yeah,
RVing around the US. Seems like it would be very stressful to me. I could take
me
it
too.
to Disney's Fort Wilderness. That's probably the extent of my comfort. I honestly, I don't even know if I could do that. I don't know if I could drive
Well,
it. Seems too big.
someone
Um,
parks it for you and we glamp. How about that?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
Well,
love Fort
as
Wilderness.
as we're me too. As we're wrapping today, I want to end on a quote. C.S. Lewis quote: "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." And I think that's kind of embodies a lot of what we're talking about today. So, Brandon, thanks for hanging with me.
Good to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you, John.
and
This was
and
fun.
it was a fun one. Yeah, we'll keep these going. And for the folks that joined us, thank you as always for being a listener and community member of the Above Board podcast. We love doing these conversations, and honestly, like the motivation that kind of keeps pulling us to do this is our viewers and our community that hangs with us on these weekly episodes. If you prefer to watch it, head over to our YouTube channel. You can find us at Candor Path. And until next week, thanks for hanging with us. Brandon, thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.